Okay, go.
Hello everyone, my name is Christopher Wong. This is the second meetup for the AWS Saratoga Meetup group, and today's topic is S3. So first, let's have a quick review. First of all, what is the cloud? So the cloud can be defined as an actual physical building, and inside of that building are a bunch of computers. These computers are called servers, and they then provision their computing resources to us. So the cloud, the physical building is called the data center. A cloud provider are the companies that actually own those buildings. So think like Google or IBM, and Amazon has AWS, and AWS is a cloud provider. Cloud storage. First of all, what is storage? If I have a closet, I can put things inside of that closet, and later on I can then access it at a later date. And that's basically what storage is. On a computer, I can store files and videos, and later on I can then access those files and videos. How do we apply the cloud to this? Well, we remember that the cloud is actually a bunch of computers. So instead of storing things on my local device, I instead store it on a computer in the cloud. A couple examples of cloud storage are Google Drive. If you used any Google application before, you have used Google Drive. iCloud Drive, which is Apple's go-to storage, and S3, which is today's topic and an AWS tool, and EFS, which is another AWS storage solution. The benefits of cloud storage are that you have the total cost of ownership. This means that you don't have to pay for any of the physical hardware necessary to run your stuff. Time to deploy refers to the time it takes to deploy an application. So let's say, for example, I'm running a program, and this program requires more storage. If I run it on my local device, I can run out of storage. However, utilizing the cloud, I can simply click a few buttons to scale my cloud, which means add more storage. And this reduces the time it takes to deploy any program or application. Information management refers to the centralization of information. So let's say I have a notebook, and inside of that notebook are all of my notes. This is now centralized information because all of my notes are stored in a singular place. And this makes it extremely convenient for me to actually find what I'm looking for. And just like my notebook, the cloud works in the same way. I can store my information on the cloud, and I can have applications easily find anything that they're looking for. So if you had a good ear, you would have heard me mention two types of AWS storage, file and S3. The reason for this is because there are different storage formats. So there's actually three types of AWS storage, and there's three types of cloud storage: file, block, and object storage. To understand what a storage format does, we have to understand what a repository is. A repository is like a folder, and inside of this folder, I store software packets. And a common example of a repository is GitHub, which has Git repositories. And there's also extra information about the code itself in Git repositories. So this information can be who published it, when it was published, and so on and so forth. And this extra information about the software packet itself is called metadata. So the first type of storage format is file storage, and we can think of file storage like a filing cabinet. Data is stored into folders, and just like in file storage, we store papers into folders. We then put these folders into a filing cabinet, and this makes it extremely scalable since we're able to add a multitude of folders into our filing cabinet. However, if you've ever had the pleasure of actually trying to find something in a filing cabinet, you understand how difficult it is because we have to search through a large amount of folders and papers. And file storage works in an extremely similar manner. We're able to scale it, however, it does take a lot of time to actually find what you're looking for. So if you need something faster, you would want to use block storage. With block storage, data is stored into blocks, and it's based on availability. So we can imagine blocks like boxes that we put things into. And since it's based on availability, let's say I have one block right here. Inside of this block, I have a certain amount of information. And then comes along another block. This block is completely empty of information, so it has the most availability. Block storage would then put incoming information into this empty block. So that's what it means when it says it's based on availability. However, if there are two blocks with equal values of data, then it would randomly store stuff. So it can either put it in this one or this one, and it's completely randomized. This makes it have low latency while also being high performing. And it's utilized by applications like databases in order to store things. However, it has zero metadata attached to it. It only remembers where your file is located. Object storage comes along and fixes a few of these issues. Data is stored into objects in a singular repository. There are three components to object storage: content, unique identifiers, and metadata. Content-wise, you can store about anything into it. And with a unique identifier, it allows applications to easily find your stuff. So my name is Chris, and that's how you identify me from other people. Metadata, again, is the extra information about the software packets itself. So this is like who published it, any edits made to it, when it was published, and so on. And it's utilized by applications to track and maintain objects across a multitude of servers. Why would I want to use block storage over object storage? Well, one scenario is where you have a singular server, and this means that you want to use block storage because all of your information is in one place. This allows block storage to shine because it's very good at these situations. However, across multiple networks and servers, it becomes extremely difficult to utilize block storage, and block storage becomes extremely slow. So you would want to use object storage. Because of the unique identifier, it's able to find things across multiple servers and networks. S3 is an AWS tool that stands for Simple Storage Service, and it utilizes object storage. S3 can store basically anything, videos, images, applications, programs, and it stores them into objects again. These objects are then stored into repositories, and the repositories are called S3 buckets. There are also multiple storage classes in order to help you save money. The first one being standard. This is your vanilla storage, and it also costs the most. However, it is used for frequently accessed data. So think like once every day. Infrequent storage is used for data that's infrequently accessed. So accessed like once a month. And it's cheaper than standard. However, it also has a data retrieval fee. This means that it actually costs some money to see your data. One zone infrequent is exactly like infrequent, except it only stores your data in a singular zone. What this means is that a zone is actually a physical building. So one zone means that your data is only stored in one data center, and it's cheaper than infrequent. However, it also has a risk factor because if that data center were to ever be destroyed by, for example, an earthquake, then your data would be gone. Intelligent tiering is a hybrid between standard and infrequent, and it basically automatically analyzes your usage pattern and switches it between tiers. So you're able to benefit from both standard and infrequent usage. Glacier is like infrequent on steroids. It's able to store things for a very long time, and it's used for data that's barely touched. So think like once every year. Glacier is cheaper than infrequent, however, it has a time of retrieval and a data retrieval fee. A time of retrieval refers to the time it takes to actually retrieve an object. So once you call for it, it takes some time, like a couple minutes, to actually get what you're looking for. Glacier Deep Archive is exactly what it says. It's like Glacier, but it's for information that you barely touch. So like once every 10 years. It's cheaper than Glacier, however, it also has a longer time of retrieval. So it takes a lot more time to actually get what you're looking for. And this can take from hours to even days. There are multiple tools in S3 to allow you to facilitate the usage of the bucket. So the first one is storage management, which controls how your data is actually stored. With storage management, there's only a couple examples up here, but there's actually a lot more examples. So lifecycle is a lot like intelligent tiering. It automatically switches your data between tiers, and this allows you to save on money. However, where it differentiates is in the fact that it needs certain time parameters. What this means is that you have to set it up manually. So say for example, I know I'm going to be accessing something in a week. Well, I would want to use a lifecycle because I know exactly when I'm going to be accessing my data. However, if you have a random access pattern, like say for example, you access it for 2 days and then not again for a month and then again for 3 days, you get the idea. You want to use intelligent tiering because it becomes extremely complex to actually use lifecycle. Objects locked is used for objects that you don't want to be edited or deleted. And it's very useful if you have a write once, read many document type. So you want a lot of people to read it, but you don't want them to edit or delete it. Replication is used to replicate objects across different buckets or even the same bucket. And this is very good if you need backups. Access management refers to who can actually access your data. So block public access stops anyone that you don't give permission to from using your data. And IAM is actually an AWS tool that creates a branch account off of your main root account. So this IAM branch account is called an IAM user, and it's also given certain privileges. For example, one privilege I can give is that it can only read documents in a certain bucket. And this means that my other buckets are very secure, plus it's not able to edit anything in that one bucket. Bucket policies are short scripts written in JSON that allow me to access or control different aspects of my bucket. For example, I can create a deny deletion policy that stops someone from, even with root level access, from deleting my bucket. ACL stands for Access Control List, and it's basically a whitelist. So it lets in anyone you give access to. Why would I want to use this over IAM? So in most situations, you want to use IAM. However, you want to use ACLs if you need to contact another separate AWS account. So IAM is only creating branch accounts off of one root account. However, it cannot access other different AWS root accounts. So I would need to use ACLs in this situation. Static hosting is a way to put an HTML page online without usage of a web server, and it is free on S3. So I'm gonna now start the demonstration of how to actually create S3 and utilize it. So the first thing we have to do is we have to go to the AWS console, and I already have that prepared here. Since I frequently access it, it's right down here. However, if you haven't touched it before, you want to type S3 up here in the search bar, and it's the first one that comes up. So as you can see over here, I already have a bucket, and this is actually hosting my website. So in order to create a new bucket, I want to do create bucket. And I have to create a bucket name. So this has to be a specific unique name. So if I were to type QQQ, the bucket name already exists if I scroll all the way down and try to create it. So we can see up here, bucket with the same name already exists. So if I type in AWS Saratoga, this name does not exist, so I'm able to create a bucket for it. Again, here we have block public access, which I talked about earlier. I need to turn this off so that I can statically host something. And I need to click the check mark down here to acknowledge. Bucket versioning is a lot like replication, except it creates a version for each edit made to the bucket. I don't need any tags, and I don't really need encryption either, so I'll be skipping those. Object lock, which we talked about earlier, creates a worm document, write once, read many, and I will not be enabling this. So now I can go ahead and create the bucket, and as we can see, it's now in the S3 console, so I can click on it and upload an object. So I already have a pre-made script, HTML document, and in order to upload it, I just go to add files, And I can type in s3.html and it should bring it up. So here we go. And now we can see that my S3 HTML is already uploaded. And we can see the destination, which is the bucket. And we also have different things down here like permissions, ACLs, which I also mentioned earlier. And I also have different properties, the storage classes. This is actually a different storage class. It's basically like standard, but again, it's used for non-critical data. And I don't need any encryption, and I will not be adding any metadata. So now I can go ahead and upload the S3 bucket or S3 object. So as we can see here, I have the S3 HTML, and if I were to click on this, I get a new page. So there's a lot of different things here. I have who owns it, which is me, the region, we're in US West 1 right now, and when it was modified, and so on and so forth. So I want to send this, I want to open this in a statically web page, right? So if I click on open up here, we can see that we actually have the web page. However, no one really wants to type out this link. I mean, just look how long it is. So instead, we want to use this link, which is much neater. And to open it, we can just go ahead and open it in a new tab. However, we do get an error, and this is because we don't have the correct permissions set up yet. So in order to set up the permissions, the first thing we have to do is go to AWS Saratoga, which is the actual bucket, and properties. So again, we have a couple different things, but what I want is something called static hosting, which is all the way down here, static hosting. And I can edit this and enable it. So I'm hosting a static website, and I also need to put in an index document. So that's called s3.html. And finally, I can go ahead and save changes. So you might expect the website to actually work now, right? However, there is one more thing we have to do. So we have to go to permissions, and down in permissions, we have to change a bucket policy. So we have to edit this and copy the ARN. Next, we can use the policy generator to create a JSON script. So first we want to select the type of policy, which is S3 bucket, and the principal will be star here. And that basically means everything. Actions, we want to use get object action, which is all the way down here. And next I need to put in the ARN, and we already copied that earlier, so I can just paste it over here. Finally, let's go ahead, add statement, and generate a policy. And now I can go ahead and copy this. And now I can go ahead and paste it down here. However, right now there is a glitch with AWS. So if I were to try and save changes, I get an API response, and basically it's saying nothing is applied in resources, which is really weird because I already have the resource stated right here. So in order to fix this, I need to do /star, which means all resources. So finally, I can go ahead and save changes. And now that I've done that, I can go ahead and go to the S3 HTML page and refresh it. And now we have the S3 HTML page statically hosted. So if you were to actually go on your phone and type this out, you would see this page. And there's also a couple different things. Metrics, we have the total bucket size and total number of objects. It's too early for me to actually get anything from this because I created this like 5 minutes ago, right? And again, we have storage classes and replication.
You have other bucket you can
I was good.
Okay, sorry.
So if I go over here and look at this bucket, which is actually hosting my website, and look at metrics, we see the actual metrics of the bucket, how much storage I'm using, and the total number of objects that I actually input. And this is static because I've not touched it in quite some time. So finally, in order to delete the bucket, what I need to do is I need to first empty it, which means I need to delete all objects inside of it. So I can click on that and delete it. And I also have to type in permanently delete, that way I don't accidentally delete it. I'm just gonna copy paste it here. And paste. So now that the object is deleted, we can now delete my bucket. So I just go back here to the console and check that, and finally I can delete it. Alright, and that concludes the demonstration. If you have any questions, you can ask me now. Alright.
Could you show me more about the metrics, go down to your current site?
I mean,
Go to, what is the CloudWatch? Can you put in CloudWatch?
CloudWatch is another AWS tool.
Are you able to go to CloudWatch?
I have to set up a CloudWatch,
Okay,
and it's quite
okay.
advanced.
Alright, that's fine. Management, what's management?
What?
Okay.
Alright, management is basically what I talked about earlier. Again, lifecycle, we can set one up. And this basically moves my stuff between tiers. Replication, which duplicates objects and stuff. And inventory configuration, which configures the inventory and is also based on metadata. And that's about it. Do you want to know anything else?
Access point, anything over there?
Access point is used for aliases. So if you have like a website that you wanted to point to, then you would have to use an access point to actually point to it. However, I am trying to bypass this by using Route 53 on AWS. So if I were to actually go to my website, Cloud Computing for Kids, I would actually just get the website instead of the S3 bucket. So for example, if I go down here to index, and we go ahead and open this up in a new page, you will not see this, well, I mean, you will see this object URL instead of my actual page because I'm opening it up from S3. However, if I actually go over here and instead you actually see my domain name, which is Cloud Computing for Kids. All right. Do you have any other questions?
Somebody else have question. I have question. So I don't understand that you talk about storage, right?
Yeah.
The 3 type of storage, and how do we know which type of storage are they using?
Good question. So you're automatically put into standard tier because it's like the vanilla storage. However, if I go into properties, I believe, I can set up intelligent tiering archives.
So I have to set up which storage I want,
Yeah.
right? I have a choice.
So like for Glacier, you would type in S3 and Glacier, and then see, you can set it up down here for Glacier. And this is in a different console. I have not created it before, so I don't really need it. Do you have any other
Okay,
questions?
yeah, good to know. I have an option.
All right.
What's the dashboard? Do you show us a dashboard before? Under storage lens?
What?
Look, yeah, where's that? Oh, okay. You haven't created dashboard yet?
No,
Okay, that's fine.
I have not touched this before.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? All right. That concludes the meetup. I thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you next time.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Chris.
Thank you.